So now you've completed your respiratory exam and your cardiac exam and your abdominal exam, and possibly done your reflexes and your neuro exam. Now we can begin to integrate our postural asymmetry exam, which helps us to screen for any mechanical abnormalities or any mechanical restrictions that babies may have. So infantile postural asymmetry can be due to neurological issues such as injured nerves. It can also be due to structural issues such as bony abnormalities, or most commonly mechanical issues. So this exam will help you to look for those things. As osteopathic physicians, we know it's really important to screen for that, because even any sort of abnormal motion that they may have is included in their mapping right now. So they're doing all kinds of proprioception and movement mapping, and to have everything moving freely is very important to their neural integration. So I think we're gonna start taking a nap, but let's see if we can get a screen in. The first thing that you do is you line the baby up and you see if they can hold a straight position. So she's able to be very straight. Babies should be able to hold a straight position for anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute. So, oh, yawn. We can see that she holds this position very easily, okay? So if she was sitting here and suddenly she wound up like that, you would say maybe she has a postural asymmetry. She's unable to hold a straight position. The next thing you can do is assess active cervical rotation. So in this position, you have her look to one side. Hi, look over here. And see how she's able to maintain her shoulder on the table? That's very good. And then we'll have her look over here. Look over here. Or be very non-participatory, which happens. Look over here. Hi. Where's Mama? Where's Mama? Look over here. There we go. Now we got her. Hi, hi. And see, as she looks over here, we can see that this shoulder also stays down on the table. If you were to see an abnormal response as she looked this way, that shoulder might lift up, or she might have a curvature in the rest of her body. So now that we've done active cervical rotation, we can check passive cervical rotation. And this is the same way that you learned in class. You can get on either side of those articular pillars and lift and rotate and feel for any restriction. So I just lift and rotate and feel for any restriction in that area. And this is really well tolerated. While I'm here, I can check passive rotation and also check the atonic neck reflex by gently rotating her head and looking for that arm to come out, and rotating her head this way and looking for that fencer position. Sometimes in kids who have postural asymmetries, you'll notice a difference on side to side of what their reflexes look like, because the mechanical restriction will keep them from doing the normal motion of the reflex, which can also affect their development, so it's important for us to address it. Next, we can check side bending, so ear to shoulder. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And you can see she has a much harder time side bending to this left side. She side bends pretty easily to the right. Oh, and it's almost nap time. You gotta keep them engaged. There's more restriction in side bending her to the left side. So while I'm here, I can also assess her thoracic inlet. Just the same way you did in class. So my thumbs are on her first rib, and my first fingers are on her first rib in the front, and I can get a sense of myofascial restriction and which way it might be rotated to. Here. The next thing I can do is come down and assess her diaphragm here, and how it feels like she has a little bit more tightness here as I assess the diaphragm. So on the right side, there's a little bit more restriction. The next thing I can do, looking for postural asymmetry, is parts should be able to move independent of other parts. So as I rotate her this way, Her head and body should be able to remain on the table. So she rolls up a little bit more on this side. Hi. And this way, you can see that her head and shoulders stay on the table much better. See, this way, it really kind of rolls her whole body, as opposed to this side, I'm only moving her pelvis. Then you can do side bending. So what does that mean? So you can see side bending here. Side bends really well, and as I come here, see the whole upper part of her body starts to move, and she doesn't side bend as easily here. So those things indicate that she has some structural restrictions that I would want to go in and look at a little bit further. Now I can do that by just bringing my hands around and coming in and springing and feeling for restriction. Remembering that the sacrum is still in 5 parts at this point, and then I can work my way up into the lumbar spine and into the thoracic spine, and I can feel for spinal curves or any restriction in that springing kind of motion. I can also check the ribs in the same way and see if I can identify where those restrictions are coming from that we noted on that screening exam.